Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about negotiable instruments. We're mostly going to talk about types of negotiable instruments and the 4 steps involved in commercial paper questions that you'll find on the CPA exam. Alright, so there are 4 main types of negotiable instruments: drafts, checks, notes, and CDs. Drafts and checks are normally 3-party, and they're orders to pay, while notes and CDs are 2-party promises to pay. So an order to pay example is a check, just a draft drawn on a bank and payable on demand. A promise to pay is generally a promissory note or a certificate of deposit. A draft, as I mentioned, is generally a 3-party commercial paper. It's an order by the drawer, who is the owner of the funds, to the drawee, who holds the drawer's funds, demanding the drawee to pay money to the payee. So in this example, the drawer would be the owner of the bank account, and the drawee would be the bank, and then the payee is who you write the draft or the check to. Note that the drawer can also be the seller, and the seller can also be the payee. A draft is not a promise to pay, it is an order to pay. So there are some differences between drafts and checks. A drawee has to be a third person who holds the funds, and it has a maturity date. For a check, the drawee has to be a bank, and the check has to be payable on demand with no maturity date. There's a few different types of drafts also. There's a sight draft, which is a draft payable on demand immediately upon the issue by the drawer and presentment to the drawee. A time draft is a draft payable by the drawee at a specific time. An example of a draft is Fry's Electronic, a retail store, agrees to purchase 50,000 super laptop computers from Martian Inc., a new organic computer company. Fry's payment policy is to pay 90 days after receipt of the merchandise, which gives them time to sell the majority of the purchased inventory. Since Martian is a new company without a lot of cash flow, Martian signs, as a drawer, a 90-day trade acceptance, naming itself as payee and Fry's as the drawee. Martian requests Fry's to sign and accept the instrument and send the trade acceptance back to Martian. If Fry signs, they have agreed to be primarily liable for the payment at the end of the 90-day period. In the meantime, Martian can take the signed trade acceptance and sell it with a discount to its bank, which would give Martian cash instantly. So, just as a review, remember that for a draft, the drawee has to be a third person who holds the funds, and it has a maturity date. For a check, the drawee must be a bank, and the check has to be payable on demand, meaning it has no maturity date. All right, so next we're going to talk about what you guys really want to know, what you need to know for the CPA. So there are 4 steps involved in commercial paper questions that you're going to see on the exam. Step 1 is to identify the type of paper. Step 2, identify if the instrument is negotiable. Step 3, decide if the holder is an HDC, which is holder in due course, which we'll discuss in a minute. Step 4 is to decide if there are real or personal defenses on the instrument. So, step 1, we already discussed identifying the type of paper. We already went over the 4 main types of papers. So based on that, you should be able to get step 1 pretty easily. Step 2 is the instrument negotiable. So why is negotiability important? So the special transferability ease and rights of holders in due course are not available unless an instrument is negotiable. If an instrument is non-negotiable, it's covered by contract law. If an instrument is negotiable, the special rights and protections of UCC Article 3 apply to the parties to the instrument and any transferees of the instrument. So the front of the instrument determines its negotiability. Nothing on the back has any relevance to its negotiability. And then there are 2 types of instruments: bearer instruments and order instruments. A bearer instrument is negotiated by mere delivery to the holder. An order instrument is negotiated only by a delivery plus an endorsement. We have made a chart to make the words of negotiability a little simpler to define. You should take a look at that in your spare time and definitely review it before the exam. But basically keep in mind that if it's payable to the order of cash or bearer, then it's going to be a bearer instrument. If it's made payable to the order of a specific person and anything else, it's still a bearer instrument. The exam nearly always has the sample instruments on it and requires you to determine what the type of instrument is and whether it's negotiable. So this is definitely a good section to review.